Hi everyone, welcome back to Friday Sews. My name's Adam, this is my channel Adam Sews, and this is this week's bumper episode of Friday Sews. So this week, lots has happened in the sewing room. I have been off all week. I have managed to get a million things finished. The first thing that I got finished was a baby quilt for a work colleague, which I will insert a photo of here. I had made the top previous to this week, but I hadn't actually quilted it, bound it or anything like that. So I finished it this week. There is some footage of me actually quilting it on my quilt frame on Instagram if you want to go and see that. And this is the final quilt. It has got a initial in the middle because the baby is going to be named something beginning with M. I also managed to finish this shirt that I'm wearing, which is another Wardrobe by Me overshirt, and this is in a custom print fabric, which is by Robski Art. I will link his shop on Spoonflower down below. It has got all different types of trainers on it, or sneakers, however you prefer to call them. So there's ones that look like Vans, ones that look like Converse, ones that look like Nike, and so on. It is a cotton woven, but it has got some stretch to it, funnily enough. It's their petal cotton, which I was talking to Trish from Pinky's Farm about this, and I know that Michelle from Michelle Sews Again has mentioned this in one of her videos as well. And although I absolutely love the print on this fabric, and I cannot thank Robert enough for sending it to me, the actual quality of the base fabric though has a lot to be desired for, or however they put it, which Michelle had mentioned before, and Trish also said as well. It is just really, really stiff, which is why I made an overshirt instead of making a standard shirt, because you wouldn't want it directly against your skin. So as an overshirt it works really well because it's actually quite canvassy, so it's more like a jacket, but it fits really nicely. I had some white buttons that I used for the two cuffs, and the buttons down the front. I actually managed to find some clear ones so they don't actually detract away from the print that's on the shirt. The other thing that I got was I actually got some Happy Mail this week, which is from Nanny B in Australia. It is various different panels which you can use for the inside of, like if you were making, where has this word gone? Log cabin blocks. So if you was making log cabin blocks, you could use it for the centre of your log cabin blocks and then build around it. But they are brilliant and hilarious, but they're not for everyone. So I will keep those and we'll use those for personal use, and they are brilliant, and I thank you very much, Nanny B. They made me laugh out loud when they turned up. The other thing that turned up this week was some fabrics that I got from an online sale. This was through a Facebook group, which is like, it's called Lockdown Crafts or something. I will try and figure it out and link it below. They do like 2 or 3 live sales a week, and it's normally, I managed to get some Riley Blake and some art gallery fabric, and it was reduced on their live to something like £5.50 or £6 per metre. So initially I started off by getting some of this beautiful art gallery fabric, which is a cotton woven. And then a friend of mine asked if I would make him a shirt. So I then got back in contact with the company and asked them if they had any more of it. So I've got a 3 metre piece here, which is to make a shirt for a friend of mine. They also had some Riley Blake, which is this one here, which obviously it looks like quilt blocks, but it's not actually quilt blocks. And I want to make myself a shirt for this for the Sewing for Pleasure show at the NEC in March. So that is going to be my shirt, which is going to be a short sleeve. And I'm probably going to use the So Def shirt, which begins with a G, and I can't remember for the life of me what it's called now. So that will be that. I want to say the Gilbert shirt, but it's not the Gilbert shirt. I can't remember. I will link it below anyway. It's a So Def shirt. I've made it before, and it's got a really cool yoke that comes over the shoulders and has a like a diamond shaped yoke on the front. so it's like a one-piece yoke rather than having any shoulder seams. So that will be made into that. The other thing that I managed to get done this week was a Aneela Hoey booklet pouch, which is this pattern here. So it's basically it's like a folder that you can keep all of your sewing bits and bobs in, which I have made from the Tudor Pink Parisville Deja Vu range. So this is the front of it. It has a matching zip, which is a open-ended zip so that you can actually open it, and then it has 4 different pages which are pockets which have got this really beautiful oil slick vinyl which is partially see-through, so you can still see what's in the different pouches that are in there, and then you just zip them up, and then once you're full you can close the whole booklet and put the separating zip back together to shut the pouch and keep all of your stuff nice and neat and tidy inside. So these are going to be something that I will be stocking on my stall at some point soon. So if anyone's interested, if they can pop in the comments just to say they might be interested or not, because I don't really know as to whether that's something that anyone would be interested in. So that is the Aneela Hoey booklet pouch. The other thing that I managed to start this week, I have decided that I want to make a new quilt for our bedroom. So I have started on the electric slide quilt by Free Spirit Fabrics, which is a free pattern download for the quilt. I will put it in the description box below if anyone wants to go and have a look at it. It's a free PDF download on Free Spirit's website, but it is actually one of Tudor Pink's quilts, but you could make it in any fabric you wanted to. So basically it's a modern twist on a log cabin block, and it's actually made in homemade range for the actual pattern, for the imagery on that quilt. So I started off by doing, I decided that I didn't want to actually do the block layout in terms of having it. So on the actual pattern, the blocks are all, the log cabin blocks are all set on point, and the base block that you start with is at the bottom, and then your log cabin blocks stack as you go up into 5 levels to create a big, I think it's like an 11 3/8 inch block. But I've basically just tweaked it a little bit and made it into a 12.5 inch block so that I can use my biggest Tudor 12.5 inch block ruler, just so I can square them all off to the same size. It's much easier. But I've, instead of having my starting block for the log cabin blocks at the bottom and then building upon that, I've started to set them off to the left, so that when you look at it, the start block will be here, and then they stack this way. So this is one of the blocks, which, so as you can see, this on the actual pattern starts down here, but the finished square is still going to be exactly the same size. So all of the blocks will just point in to the right hand side when the actual full quilt is finished, rather than them pointing sort of upwards. But I've positioned all of my blocks so they are still obviously upright. So I started with the homemade one, but I didn't want to use specifically just homemade. So what I've decided I'm going to do is use different fussy cuts from each of the different ranges that I've got in Tudor Pink's range. So I started with a homemade, then I made a line work, which has got the fussy cut here is the big lemur. I then went from that one to Curiouser and Curiouser with Alice, which I'm going to make another Alice in all of the other 2 colours, because otherwise I won't have enough ranges to do all of the fussy cuts. So I've got her in a yellow and I've got her in a pink, so there will be 2 more blocks for that. I did the Pinkerville, which has got the unicorn, and then various Pinkerville fabrics, which actually haven't ever cut into that because I've been too scared to. So I just thought, you know what, it's my quilt, I'm keeping it. It'll be on our bed. I'm going to use the ranges that I've been hoarding for ages. The other one is this. It's another Curious and Curiouser, but it is the pink Red Queen, and then I've got the red background colourway of the Red Queen, so I will make a secondary block to that as well. So I'll end up with 4 Curiouses, but they will all have different fabrics on the log cabin sort of lines, different borders the whole way around it. So the other thing that I did have turn up. I've actually had quite a lot turn up this week because I've been ordering things because I've been low on stuff where I've made so many bags and I needed webbing and different things. And I also needed quilt batting to finish the quilt. So while I was at that ordering that, I thought I might as well bump up the order to meet minimum requirement. And I ended up getting some clover bits and bobs. So I ended up getting one of the clover awls because I use these all the time for attaching binding to all of my bags. And the By Annie one, the stiletto that's actually on there is quite bendy, and I seem to ping off the binding quite often and put the stiletto straight through the end of my finger. So this one I haven't yet done that with, so I'm hoping that this will stop that from happening. The other things, I'm just going to grab them out of this bag. So I got some other stuff from Clover. One of them was a pack of flower head pins because the Clover ones are really good quality, and when you're buying them wholesale, they're really cheap. I got one of the applique Hera markers because I don't actually have a Hera marker. I also got one of the Clip and Glide bodkins, which is a flexible bodkin with a proper clasp that sort of latches onto elastic for when you're threading it through waistbands and other things. I got 2 packs of hand binding needles. One of them is applique and one of them is quilting. So these are really good for English paper piecing and for doing the hand binding on the back of quilts or the front of quilts, whichever way around you flip it to bind it. And I got a standard pack of webbing that goes inside all the handles of my By Annie bags. It also goes into the reinforcement straps on the caddies. And then some of them I have a sort of like naked webbing rather than being bound in fabric. And those ones I like to use the coloured webbings. So I've got a grey, a pink and a navy because they kind of are fairly neutrals in terms of Tudor's fabrics to go with. One of the recent caddies that I made, I actually used the pink webbing, which was for Ruan at the Yorkshire Sew Girl. I will link her channel down below because I'm sure it'll pop up in one of her videos at some point. So that was that haul of things. And then Sew Ellen in Ireland is shutting down her shop this week. I believe is the last of all sales that will be going through her shop. I bought a load of homemade and stocked up on that because she had it all half price. And then this week she was shutting up completely. I think that's it now in terms of her actually selling through any online venue. Or avenue even, not venue. I managed to get hold of some of the trinkets by Alison Glass because I want to do... I just feel that these will be really complementary to a lot of the Tudor fabrics that I do. I'd also quite like to make some bags out of these 4 mixed together because I think it would make a really nice, bright, colourful caddy with like a black and white striped binding. So, like for instance, with one of these, I could have a different colour on each of the different panels and then a striped binding to sort of contrast against it. So that will all become a caddy and probably some sew together bags as well at some point. And in terms of stuff that I got up to this week, I think that might be it. Obviously, the shirt that I'm wearing is obviously something else I made this week. I am going to start on another one of those Aneela Hoey pouches, I think. And I am also prepping everything for tomorrow because I'm going to the Soverton Makery. The lovely Catherine from Soverton Makery is holding another social tomorrow. And I'm going to be meeting Claire from Stitch Hem Sew over there. And I believe as well that there may be another special guest, which I am very, very excited about. And I hope I get to bump into her tomorrow and that she is able to make it. So that'll be really great. I just need to kind of work out what I'm going to take with me now in order to have something to sew. But I think I might just end up doing what I did last time, just sitting and eating popcorn and not talking and not really sewing much at all. So I will bid you farewell. It has been a bit of a bumper mega week this week, and I will see you all again soon. Take care, have a good weekend. And I'm just going to insert some footage just before the end that I missed out of last week's video, which was me just showing you around the new layout of my sewing room, the way that I've juggled tables and different things so that my machines sit in allocated places better. So I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye. So the way that I now have it set up is like a little nook that I can sort of sit in and have everything surrounding me. There's a little Luna in my scrap bin. So I've got my Banina up here. My laptop's just in the corner at the moment. Those two machines, one of those is my Janome 1600p and the other one is my 1600p QC, which I am going to be getting rid of. There is my new Juki. I've got my overlock up here. My colour stitches in the drawer, and then all of my tools and all of my PDF patterns and everything are in here. Luna's awake. Good morning. So that is how I've got my setup now.